Good morning. I'm Marion LaSalle, and my co-hosts today are Russ Johns and Ted Liman. And today we're talking about accounting, right? So this is Tools, Technology, and Teamwork Talk Show. Boy, that's a lot of talking. Tease. And I really am interested in learning more about keeping our accounting up to date, because you don't want the IRS knocking on your door and you go, uh-oh, I forgot about accounting. You need to keep it up to date, right?
Right.
Good morning. Introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Ted.
All right. I'm Ted Liman. I'm an entrepreneur. I have 4 businesses at the moment that I'm running, and glad to be here to be a part of the talk show.
Excellent.
And I'm Russ Johns, fun-loving criminal, and partner with Future Media Association in conjunction with your host here, Miss Marion LaSalle. So love to be here today, and it's a great day to be connected with Ted. So we love these programs where we get to learn more about business.
We're on the cutting edge of a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
And we all bring in so many wonderful ideas and tips about the things that are going on in business. So we all come from a different background, but we all have the same interest. How do we keep our business running and be very profitable?
Absolutely. And accounting is one of those tools that are a necessary tool to measure results. And Ted, you wanted to share a little bit about your experience and knowledge with everybody, and this is something that you're familiar with, so love to have you kind of explain and elaborate on the subject that we're talking about today. Maybe you can kind of explain and give it some framework for our audience and make sure that we understand where we're going with this.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on the show. First of all, good morning to you guys. Good morning to everybody listening. I would like to talk about accounting and accounting rules. And what it is actually it really relates a lot to you guys. And what I mean by that is this. I've met with a lot of people who one day come to me and say, hey, I have $50,000 worth of debt in the credit card. I don't know how I got there. And I have businesses that come to me and say, listen, I have to close my doors because I owe $30,000 and that's it. There's no more money. I can't pay my people. I can't pay my rent. I have to close my door. And those kind of accounting behaviors is the one that's kind of like snooping around, kind of like spooking you, and then eventually it kills your business. And what I meant by that is that's what accounting must be accounted for. So in other words, you need to have accounting in hands. You need to know exactly how much money you have in your hands. You need to know how much money you can spend on a daily basis. And also having a business, you need to know how much money you need to have a business.
It's amazing. And this is, accounting's been around as long as time, as long as money has been available, right? Mm-hmm. And it's inevitable that there are, and I've been guilty of it more than once, is, okay, well, you got money coming in, you got expenses, you got going out, okay, I have to pay for this. I have to get this thing in here. How can we share some tools or techniques or ideas today that people can very easily adopt and say, okay, where can I start this process? Where can I get a handle on it? What can I do to change behavior? Or what can I do to make more money or reduce my expenses? Or how do we even start, Ted? You're a very successful business owner that's been doing this for a while. So share some secret knowledge with us that we can impart to our audience here in the community.
Starts with a conversation with somebody, I know. You can't have it with yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Looking at it's working out for us.
Yeah, the problem with consulting with yourself, what happens if you have an argument, right? That's not good.
That's an ugly slap fight.
Right, yeah, exactly. You did it. No, you did it.
I love
You fix it. No, you fix it.
Exactly.
You know, I always remember this. When I was really young, I was working for somebody, and that person told me, you know, in this company here, we need to make at least $100 per day, because $100 is to keep the lights, to pay the rent, and also to pay for you guys. After the $100, that money now is going through our pockets, and what, and that actually is a very important lesson, right? And if you open up a business, you need to know exactly how much money you need to run your business. So that's one of the
That is a fantastic tip.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many years ago was $100 a day enough to pay your employees and keep the lights on?
That was more than 2 decades ago, actually.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a little higher now, but that is fantastic. Go into that a little deeper.
Yeah, and what it is, you need to count how much you pay for your, of course, your bills, right? I mean, that's your fixed cost. You need to know your fixed cost. You need to know how much you pay for your electricity, your rent, your water, and if you actually have like monthly subscription, like me, we have Wall Street Journal. I mean, we have to put that into account. Internet, telephone, those are all fixed accounts. So you need to have to know your fixed cost. Now, your variable cost is something that you have to keep in mind, kind of like put an average into it, because it's variable. So it can go higher, it can go lower. Like cell phone bills, for example. Like me, if you call international many times, then your phone bill is going to fluctuate. You know, sometimes it's $100, sometimes one time I think the record that I have was about like $1,500, which is, yeah, and that's the one that I.
Calls, if you're doing a lot of international calls, so that's probably not uncommon.
Right, exactly. And then that actually, somebody told me one time, you know, Ted, actually, there was $5,000 bill on your BlackBerry. We just didn't tell you. We took care of it. So I said, okay, so that's a lot of money.
Wow.
That's 1 month. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you count that. You count your fixed cost. You count your variable cost. After you know that, put that in your mind. And this is how business owners can really be on top of their toes. If they know how much money they need to have on a daily basis to survive, that's when they know, okay, so for example, if you know that you have to pay $100 a day to have your business, in your mind now, you're like, okay, I better get going. I better go out there. I better make some money. At least I need to make $100. Or if I have not counted lunch and dinner in there, then I need to make, for example, $120 or so.
Right.
That's when you put a fire in you.
Yes.
And and I call that fire not in a negative way, but more like in a positive way, like fire, passion kind of thing. You need to know that number. If you don't know that number, you might feel like you're floating. It's like, oh, it's okay. You know, I'm okay. I'm alive. You know, if something goes wrong, I can use my credit card. But remember, when you know how much money you need to pay, right? I mean, that's your bill. Even though you don't pay it every day, you're going to pay it eventually.
Right.
So you pay $100, then in your mind, you're going to be like, I better hustle. I better call somebody. I better go make some sales. I better do something if I've been doing something and he has not been giving me any kind of return. So that's for you to understand, for you to know. From that point forth, that's when you can kind of realize, you know, maybe that's why I have this debt in all my credit card. I mean, it keeps on climbing up. I don't know what happened. I only eat once a day, and when I buy salad, I don't put dressing on it and trying to save some money. But if you don't count that cost right there on a daily basis, that's how it's going to snoop in to your accounting.
Yeah. It's just, and it happens. I mean, it's even dimes and pennies, you know, add up after, weeks and weeks of accumulation. So I really like that. And also you mentioned something is know your daily cost of doing business. And I think it's also important for, especially, entrepreneurs and people that are doing freelance work. You have to know your daily value. You know,
Right.
What is it that I need to earn in order to pay my bills and generate revenue for the month to cover my costs, right? Because you may or may not have an office. Office in America is a great example. Is the cost for office in America is not a huge amount. It's not like, renting out the 5th floor on a large tower someplace, or the 35th floor downtown someplace. However, it's still a cost that you have to associate with your business. So those are all costs that you have to calculate into your daily amount and your value. And then say, for instance, you want to earn so much an hour in order to cover your insurance, your vehicle, your rent, all these things, and decide what your daily amount is that you're earning. So I think that's really important to think about from a freelance perspective in an entrepreneur is, you don't think about these things. However, they are expenses that you have to consider, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's how bigger companies sometimes have to make hard decisions in their corporation. Like right now, I mean, energy price is coming down. I mean, it's still going down, and it's not doing so well. Now, this is how important accounting is. If you actually become very dynamic in your accounting, the oil price goes down, you start calculating like all across the board. You need to know how much money you can spend. You need to know how much revenue you're going to get. If you know how much revenue you're going to get, then you know what kind of spending power you have, right? So once you know your spending power, that's when you can actually say, okay, listen, guys, sorry, but we have to lay off some people, because otherwise the entire company is just going to bankrupt. I mean, it's a tough decision, but you have to do it in order for the company to survive. That's how important accounting is. Now, another part of accounting that I also recommend people is when you have a project and you know what kind of budget you have, keep track of that project. You need to know, for example, if your project's budget is like 1,000 and that requires traveling, technology, consumption, accommodation, you need to keep track of that on a constant basis. So if this project, for example, is like 5 months, and then in the following month, you need to go back to it, revisit, and see, okay, this is my budget. What is it in the actual now, right? I mean, some people actually, they buy airplane ticket like a couple of hours before the flight.
That's not cost effective.
Like, I mean, here to Cancun is like $400. But you buy it a couple of hours before, that's when it's going to cost you about $1,200, right? So you need to know your budget versus your actual. And if you know that, then you now know, okay, I need more money from somewhere else. You need to get it from another bucket inside your accounting to spot that problem that you have. So you have to be very dynamic in the accounting.
And when you're a project manager, Ted, it's always great to have a good relationship with the accountants.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you want to have the bookkeeper happy all the time.
I saved money on this side of the project, so I need to move some budget from over here to this. So my project looks good, right?
That's right.
I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you're telling us to know, because we don't get this in school. No one tells us, we need an accounting plan. No, we don't. So how do we get started? If we're a small enough company, we can't afford to hire an accountant. How do we get started?
Actually, is quite simple. I mean, if you guys just hop into the show, you can rewind it later on when it becomes available as a recording. Use Excel sheet. I mean, everybody has Excel sheet, right? And then if you don't have it, you can get it for free. Like, what is it? 1 month or something. Google Docs. That's right. Google Docs is exactly like Microsoft Excel, but it's absolutely free, and it's in the ecosystem of Google. I mean, you can pick it up from your phone, your tablet, your laptop. It's fantastic. So use that and actually have one tab for expenditure and one tab for income. And then you have another tab for a summary. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, you want to have like one simple worksheet that says, this is your expenditure, this is your income, and here you go, here's your profit. And so it's very simple. Don't go very elaborate. Don't think that you need to be a CPA and you need to have 1,000 lines of expenditure, 1,000 line of revenue. You don't have to do that. Something very simple.
Simple credit and debit, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's right.
And
Just
if
keep
you
it
sell
super
widgets,
simple.
if you sell widgets, how many widgets do you have to sell in order to make sure that you have that in your bank account every single day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Well,
That's
and if
right.
you know your fixed costs, you know you can divide that. It's a simple division. You know, it's like, okay, what total expenses divided by number of days, working days, divided by the cost of, you know, the material goods. And
Yeah. Yeah. Now, here's a classic example that I'd like to bring up. I think it's going to be a good one here. Okay,
okay.
so for example, if we have a project of, let's say, building a house or so, right?
Mhm.
You want to go out there and do your research, trying to find the most effective costing, right? The cheapest one with the best quality and the best delivery time. Now,
Mhm.
as you do that, here's what people do actually. Okay, uh, after a week or so, they say, here you go. Here's the pricing. This is the cost, and this is really good. And then here comes another guy coming in. There's like, oh no, I mean, I can get it for much cheaper than that. And the other guy would say, okay, well, here you go. Here, take it. Uh, go work on that. And the other guy later on, a week later, is like, here you go. Look, it's cheaper, you know. And then they're like, okay, so out of $100,000 budget that we have, now you trim it for about 1,000. So yeah, okay, that's good. That's like 99,000. It's good, right? You're saving $1,000. Do you really save $1,000? That's the
No, because
question.
you lost a week.
Exactly. Exactly. See, from the point of view of project managers, you lost a week. I mean, that's one. But
Yeah.
from the point of view of accountant, you lose everybody's time while they're waiting on you for 1 week, right? So if you have like 5 people working in that project, so it's 5 people times 40 hours, that's 200 hours, and then times their salary. So if you're thinking you're saving $1,000, you actually might be losing easily $2,000, $4,000 just because you're waiting on that. So gotta find the balance on that. And this is what I meant by accounting rules. You really need to know what you're doing. You really need to know whether what you're doing really is going to save you money or actually is going to drain your money without you realizing it.
Because sometimes if you can actually spend a little more and get a better product quicker, you could be miles ahead, right?
Yeah. Well, Russ, you remember we had a Christmas party this past December, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that food that we had in here, we got that catering from Papa's Barbecue.
Right.
Sorry you missed it, Marianne. It was great though.
I know. I feel bad about
He
it.
was in
I
Dallas.
was not here. Yeah, I was not here. I would have been there.
Right. Yeah, I know. So anyway, that research right there was done in about like 4 days by our staff. And then I asked our staff, I mean, so how much money are we trying to save here? And they said, well, if you go to Luby's, it's this much. If you go to Don Carlos, it's this much. If you go to Papa's Barbecue, I said, listen, you've been doing this for 4 days. Do you know how much money you've been paid while you're doing this? I said, if you did not do a research, just go and buy it on day one, we would actually be ahead. We would have 3 times the size of the catering that we had in that December.
Yeah.
So accounting, although some people say, oh, okay, it's plus and minus. You know, who cares? It's just accounting. Well, it actually can save you a lot of money. And if you're a business owner, $100, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every $100 you save is sometimes the one that lands in your pocket, right?
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear about what it is that you're saying, Ted. You're saying if you do research to save yourself money, you need to do it in a timely fashion. Otherwise, it ends up you spend more money doing all your research.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, and to elaborate more, for example, on a human resource side, and people don't know this, if you're trying to find a senior programmer, let's say, and you want to, you have $70,000 to pay your senior programmer, right? You want to know how quick you need this person to be working for you. Now, trying to find somebody $70,000 senior programmer, it might be hard but they're out there. If you hire like the best of the best, you might have to pay maybe like 100,000 instead of 70,000. Or you can wait about one more month, and that's going to cost you 70,000. But that 1 month, how much do you have to pay your human resource department to get that person, right? I mean, there actually, we can do a simple formula, plus and minus, and you'll find out the right answer for you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's actually, there is a formula for that. Like being taught in business schools, there is a formula for that.
How much you're paying HR to acquire a new talent at a different rate?
That's right. That's right.
That's amazing. And I think when you're in your business and your head's down and you're thinking, okay, I just have to get the next thing done, that's the furthest thing from our minds, you know, and it's probably the first thing that needs to be in our mind is, okay, and here's where it really boils down to the freelancer, the small business owner is, am I spending my time on the most productive action at this particular moment?
That's right.
Because a lot of people, and I'm totally guilty of this, and Mary and I have had multiple conversations about this, is because I can do a lot of things. However, is it the best use of my time?
Right.
You know? And that's what it really boils down to is, if I'm being more productive on this specific task than it would be to hand it off to somebody, even if they don't do it the way I would do it, as long as it gets completed and it's efficient and it doesn't take, you know, there's no loss of action, I'm further ahead because I can move on to something that's going to make more money for the company, right?
That's right. And you know, a lot of the story, like, don't mow the lawn, let somebody else do that because you can make more money, right? And mowing a lawn is like $20, and then if you work that 1 hour, you can make $80 or something like that. So I mean, that's a good example. Now, this is what I tell youngsters. What I mean, youngsters are not kids, but I'm talking about like young entrepreneurs. They already have that mindset. They say, I'm outsourcing my my landscaping. I'm outsourcing my house cleaning. I'm outsourcing my car wash. I'm outsourcing my my laundry. And I said, hold on a second. I think you're going to the right direction on this one here. You want to outsource to people so that way you can your time can be more productive because you can make more money versus if you're doing your laundry, your landscaping, so on and so forth. But how much money are you making now?
Yeah.
See? That's what I asked them, and they say, "Well, yeah, I'm still trying." I say, "Okay, go mow your lawn, man. I mean, go do your laundry, go do your dishes, go do all."
You actually have to use that time to earn money when you're delegating it, right?
That's right. That's right.
Like, if you're going to just go in on the couch and lay down and not do anything to earn more money, then the balance sheet is going to end up going to zero, right?
Exactly.
Or less.
So
or
we need to be cautious. We need to be cautious of that, and we need to be. We really need to be true to ourselves. We need to be honest. You know, I mean, are we really doing the accounting in the proper way or not? And the accounting, you need to be in a positive side of it, and you also need to be on the black color, right? It cannot be red. It cannot be negative. I mean, if it's red, if it's negative, I mean, do something else. Yeah, I mean, that's a great indicator that your business is not going in the right direction.
Well, I love this conversation, Ted, and I know that you do a lot of consulting with oil and gas companies with alga processing.
Yes.
So this is the type of thing that I think people need help with, especially if they're young, especially if they're young in business, because you could have a wonderful job in a corporate environment and you're never exposed to these questions, these things that you need to think about in your business. So if you're starting a business or you already have a business, maybe it was gifted to you, right? You're all of a sudden you bought a franchise or you were given a business due to, you know, health problems in your family. You could be very mature, but you don't know about these techniques and these things that can trip you up.
Right. That's true. That's very true. Yeah. And a lot of
people are afraid of money.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, a lot of this is exactly why a lot of millionaires once they become rich because they won a lottery or something like that, they lose all that. They lose all those,
Right.
money, right? And it's
The principles.
right. They don't have the principle. They don't know that for you to be able to maintain that money, at least you need to have that kind of income, right? And what happens is once they get all this money, and I'm also I like to include super athletes. You know, talking about like NFL,
Right.
NBA,
Right.
the
Right.
millionaires. I mean, they're rich. They're doing just great, just fine. Now they don't realize that at one time NBA is gonna say, okay, enough is enough. You know, right now let's give the young people a chance to play in the NBA with fresh talent and fresh energy. So now, once you retire from there, that's when everybody is thinking like, oops, what do I do now? You
Now
know,
what do I do?
yeah, I
Oops.
used to make five million a year, and then now all of a sudden, I just realized that I am spending about 4.9 millions a year. You know, so that's actually is a dangerous thing, and that's exactly why, because they're not paying attention to the accounting of how much they're actually spending versus how much they're actually bringing in.
Right. Right. Well, this has been very productive, and I love the fact that we can actually share this again and again. Ted, Office in America's, we appreciate the arrangement and the support from Olga Processing and Office in America, and I love the fact that we can have this show and share information with, everybody in social media, some of our circles, and hopefully we'll be able to share this with somebody that's going to make a huge difference in the future. So
Yeah, it's our pleasure, by the way. Yeah.
it's fantastic. And so next week, we're here every week. So next week, we're going to be talking about another subject, business subject that is near and dear to our heart. And we'll get that out there and schedule the show. Any last words, Marion, that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I'd just like to know a little bit more about what Ted is looking for as far as customers. So if you're doing consulting for oil and gas companies, who is it that hires you? Who is your perfect client?
Yeah, who's out there that needs your help, Ted?
Oh, we all need his help. Who's the perfect client for you?
Yeah. Well, the one that would bring my accounting in the right position. That would be.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No, actually, what I'm about to say is, I mean, we've served big clients. You're talking about like Exxon, Chevron, Shell. I mean, visit us at ALGA processing.com. I mean, you'll find out the kind of customers that we have served, and the kind of people that hire us are the kind of people that needs consulting in the oil and gas industry. Now, the theory and the teachings that we have in there actually can be used for any kind of businesses, not only oil and gas. So we have new graduate students who just join oil and gas company, and sometimes they don't know how to act. They don't know what to do because it's just so new to them. They're like the first generations in oil and gas. They come to us for consulting. And we also have executives who have not been exposed to non-MBA level. What I meant by that is they usually graduate from MBA and then they jump into oil and gas and they are like a VP or chief financial officer. So they don't know how it's like to be in the position of construction workers, for example, for the oil and gas. So
Right.
I consult for those people as well to give them exposure of how the operations outside the C-suite, how it looks like. Because sometimes what they know is, okay, here's the accounting right here. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What they don't know is there are some human behaviors that actually can affect those accounting numbers in there. So we do consulting in that matter as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today. This is the Tools, Tips, and Teamwork show, and we are here every single Tuesday from 9:30 to 10 Central Time, a.m. Central Time. And we look forward to seeing you. And if you have any questions or things that you would like us to talk about, please let us know. And we'll be back to see you again next week. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.